Please join me in welcoming General Eric Shinseki.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and aloha. And I know tomorrow's Mother's Day, so let me invite all of us to wish mothers a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the audience. Well, Chancellor Lassner, thank you for the kind invitation to deliver today's UH Commencement address here in Mānoa. Greetings to the Regents and members of the distinguished faculty and staff, your distinguished guests. I'm deeply honored to be back in a place I still call home, despite having left about 58 years ago. So to this outstanding class of 2018, heartiest congratulations. We're all thrilled to be here to honor and to celebrate this wonderful achievement, monumental achievement in your lives. None of us makes it to college commencement entirely on our own, as the Chancellor has pointed out. So we thank and congratulate all those who enabled your journeys to this stage, your families, moms, dads, uncles, aunts, siblings, friends and loved ones, some who sacrificed in unbelievable ways for you to have this moment. So be proud. They certainly are. You're the product of their dreams. My purpose here today is pretty straightforward. Like the guy singing the national anthem at an NFL football game, no one came to hear him sing, but the game won't start until he's done. And then from what I remember of my own college graduation, you won't remember anything said here today by the end of the ceremony. By tonight, you won't remember who spoke here. In fact, by tomorrow, some of you may not even remember having graduated today. So let me do my part and let the celebrating begin. I was born on the island of Kauaʻi about a year after the attack on Pearl Harbor. And every time I make the mention of that to my grandchildren, one of the 7 will say, "Grandpa, Pearl Harbor happened in the first half of the last century. You know that, don't you?" I grew up learning to swim, fish, and frolic on the mighty Waialua River on Kauaʻi. I should say that a little deeper, mighty Waialua River. I and my friends learned to build 3-man canoes there, and we called them 3-man canoes because it took 2 of us paddling for all we were worth and the third bailing for his life to keep that canoe from going under the mighty Waialua. The canoes weren't very good, granted, nowhere close to being watertight. But just as in life, you get better at things even when you fail if you persist. And we did. And in that process, we learned not just how to swim and fish, but also we learned things about self-reliance, independence, adapting to make things work, and taking care of one another. Lessons that stuck for a lifetime. Well, today's my first UH commencement ceremony. You see, I went to college on the mainland and then served in the Army for about 30 years, and today I walk with a limp, I have double vision, and my hearing is not so good. You too will be 75 someday. But these afflictions are merely the stings of an active operational life. And I know there are others in the audience today who share those afflictions with me. So let me invite all the veterans who are able to stand to please stand. If you can't, raise your hand. Let us acknowledge your service to our nation. Thank you all very much. So what can I offer the graduates as you go forward from today? First, feel good about yourself. This is no small achievement. You didn't get here by accident or by luck. You earned your way onto this stage. Now, going forward, a common encouragement from old folks like me is to tell you to follow your hearts. I'm just not sure that you even know what's in your heart at this point, at your ages. But finding out is really worthwhile. Who you really are, what you truly believe, what stimulates your intellect, what passions fire your soul. And this takes time. As Stephen Colbert cautioned in 2011 to the graduating class of Northwestern, some of you, I see you nodding, some of you have already heard this. If everybody followed their first dreams in life, the world would be ruled by cowboys and princesses. So take the time to decide what things get you up out of bed each morning, what make you eager to get to work, what makes it difficult for you to turn in each night. You need that kind of passion in life, and the world needs you to have it. And when you have this figured out, you know what your heart is, and by all means follow it. In fact, kick in the doors. Shot clock's ticking. As monumental as today's graduation is, don't let it be the end of learning for you. Curiosity is fundamental to the human condition. I'm always suspicious of those unmanned technologies. There's always one of us that wants to know what's over the horizon and not be programmed by the technology. Curiosity is fundamental. It fuels that search to know what's in your heart. It stimulates intellectual growth. So stay curious. And as you grow, challenge all the assumptions that pervade our daily lives. The ones that tell you this is the way you have to do things because. The most powerful words in your vocabulary are the ones that end with question marks. Do you know? Can you explain why? How? Who? When? Questions signal an open mind and a willingness to listen and to learn. They also expose vulnerability. Your willingness to admit that you don't have all the answers and that you need help, that you care about what others think, and that you want to grow. But such vulnerability takes self-confidence. How much more powerful of a message can you send to the people with whom you work? And next, to echo Chancellor Lassner again, you live in the best place on earth. You live in the best place on earth. Now, I see some reactions out there, like the reactions I get from my family and friends when I say Hawaii is the best place I've ever been to. I usually get, this dinky place? I've traveled a good portion of the world for much of my life. This land, our people, our cultures, this close relationship with nature all makes this a special place on earth. And I say that even though I know that torrential rainstorms and volcanic eruptions always challenge us, and my heart goes out to those who are still dealing with that, but I've lived much of my professional life in the out of doors. This place is special. Don't take it for granted. It takes work to preserve something that's beautiful. The world is out there, and life's journeys will take you through much of it, like it did for me. But Hawaii is always home. So treasure it and preserve it. In 1985, when I was still serving in the Army in what was then Cold War Germany, a senior U.S. commander delivered a Memorial Day address which stuck with me for over 30 years. He just died this week, and with Memorial Day coming, I thought I'd share a few of the words that he uttered 30 years ago. Pretty simple and straightforward, just an emphatic statement on his part. I know that when I die, I will die a free man, on my feet, not on my knees, with my head up, not bowed to anyone. It was a simple declaration. And I'm sure, as powerful as those words are, they probably did not originate with him, nor was he the only person to use them. But 30 years ago, that statement struck me because it sort of reminded me that I had been taking my citizenship a little bit for granted. You see, I could make that same declaration, and so can you. And because we can, our children and grandchildren will inherit and share in this legacy of free people. I know that when I die, I will die free, on my feet, not on my knees, with my head up. You see, only the free who love freedom and liberty enough to fight for it can bequeath such a gift to others. The shackled cannot, the free who are not willing to fight to defend it cannot. Only the free who are willing to commit that freedom and liberty are important to our way of life can preserve it and then pass it on to others. We shouldn't take either our freedom or our greatness as a nation for granted. Less than 1% of Americans serve in the military today. That's not a pejorative statement, that's just a statistic. Serving in the military is not for everyone, but we can all exercise the right to vote and decide who will lead us. I've served in places where citizens don't have that right. In 1997, I was part of an international contingent of some 41 nations that went to Bosnia-Herzegovina. To implement the Dayton Peace Accords were intended and were designed to move this former communist state in the direction of democracy. We helped conduct Bosnia's first ever free nationwide elections. Bosnians lined up early, hours of darkness, standing in line for hours, waiting for their first chance to cast a ballot. We have a less than stellar record of getting people into the voting booths in this country. But you see, when you've waited a lifetime for the chance to elect those who will serve as your leaders, no one gives up their place in line. So let's do our part by participating in our government. Read, study, be informed on the issues, and then stand in line to vote. And frankly, if all you know about the world and its most pressing problems comes from 30 minutes of televised news each evening, I'm not sure that's enough to grow an informed electorate that keeps our democracy strong. So let's all do our part this November and in every election thereafter. Vote. Keep us the great democracy that we are. During those early years on Kauaʻi, my parents, like most other parents, were consumed by just trying to make ends meet. And so I got to spend a lot of time in the care of my grandparents in Lihuʻe Plantation Camp A, a vibrant, multi-ethnic, multicultural neighborhood. You learn to sort things out in the streets and on the playgrounds. And sorting things out, you learn to work hard. You see, everyone works hard in a plantation camp, and there is nobility in doing so. Carrying your own load was an expectation. You also learn to treat everyone with respect. It's a little bit about survival. And then years later in the Army, I learned a saying that soldiers don't care what you know until they know that you care. And when they believe you care, they'll follow you on the toughest missions. I had learned most of that lesson in a plantation camp. And finally, in spite of our modest circumstances in my family, we all understood that people had sacrificed greatly for us to have opportunity. And in my family, the men of the 100th Battalion, the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, and the Military Intelligence Service all loomed large. And they were just average guys with names like, Roscoe Haruki and Chika and Herbert Ishii and Motomi Shigeta, Mike Tokunaga. Boys who went off to war and then came back to help build this country. Remember those who sacrificed everything so you could have opportunity, this opportunity. And service in uniform isn't the only sacrifice that I'm talking about. There are moms and dads here who work 2 or 3 jobs to put people through college. Do the same for those coming behind you. Well, it's been a great run. I'm honored to have been here. Dinkio Kauaʻi had given me lessons big enough to live by, and they stood me in good stead. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd marry the same wonderful woman and join the U.S. Army again. I wish you all luck. Swing for the fences, as they say in baseball. And if you hit one way the heck out of here, come back and endow this university that gave you this start. So congratulations once again. Good luck. Find wonderful and purpose-filled lives. Aloha.